Hey, welcome back to our channel,
We are back.
back to our podcast, back to another episode. We so appreciate you guys for joining us for the second episode um, of the part two of this podcast that's being recorded. Again, we want to do one live podcast on YouTube a month, and the rest of them you can check us out on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to your podcasts at. You can check us out there. If you haven't checked us out already, please go back and see what we did last month. And yeah, that would be great. Today, I usually start us off because he's just kind of like listening and looking. But today,
What you want to do today?
we're talking about apologizing.
Let me hear you. Go ahead.
And so, when we talk about apologizing, I don't know how many of you guys get stuck in apologizing. There are lots of ways that you can apologize, and there are lots of people who talk about the conflict that comes when a couple does not apologize
Sure.
with one another. So we decided to take the
Apology quiz.
yeah, sorry,
That was designed and started by Gary Chapman.
yes,
And so we wanted to have. It's important in our relationship dynamic to be improving, to develop, to find areas that are our weakness, and to work on those weaknesses, and then also to find areas that are our strength, and to encourage each other and help each other in areas that may be a strength. That also could be a weakness for the other person. And so
yeah,
that is important. That is something that we do that is intentional in our relational dynamic.
yeah, absolutely. So Gary Chapman is known for his Five Love Languages book. We are linking that resource down below for you. He also has a podcast. He also has other things that he's got going on
Yeah.
to talk about relationships. But we love his material. We actually have a picture that we'll insert here too of when we actually met him in person, and that was pretty awesome. Also to talk with him about that.
What is it like to meet your hero?
He's not my hero,
Oh.
but Jesus is my hero. But it was cool to meet him. I mean, he's very chill, very calm person. I love how he led with stories about his own relationship when he was talking about relationships of others, and I like that transparency that he shared.
Yeah, you could tell he talks to a lot of people
Yeah, for sure.
for a living, because just his presence in the room, his ability to, and it was weird because he came in. I don't know if he'd had that big of a room full of black people, Spanish people, um, and because it was like, I'm expecting like, oh, like sometimes you could see people, it's like you could tell you're not used to this crowd, but he was so
He seemed very comfortable in this
that,
space.
but then also too, he knows marriage so well that it was like, oh, this does cross over culturally and all those different things. So that was really cool to see from him.
Yeah, I even love how like close his marriage examples were too, and how when he was telling certain stories over, he's like laughing himself,
Yeah.
thinking about the instance when. So that was kind of cool to see him in person and to experience that.
Baby girl's tired.
Yeah, I'm pregnant and I'm tired all the time, guys. So sorry that I didn't mean for that one to slip out, but it did. You
It
got
certainly
me.
did.
You got me.
Okay.
So
Before
I
you
was-
go on this too, one more thing.
Okay.
When I took this test, I want to know, how did you feel taking the test?
Okay. Before we get there, though,
Oh.
I want to say, I want to say that again. Gary Chapman, Five Love Languages. His website's down below. He has other materials that we'll link down below, also in this video
Yes.
on the podcast, so that you can check him out. Most people, when I talk to most people about this, they don't know that he has an apology language quiz. He absolutely does. They're so used to taking the Five Love Languages quiz,
And that's what they know.
and that's what they know. And so this is a bit different. This is talking solely about your apology language, but the quiz is set up very similarly. You take the questions, you click through, and then at the end you get the top, five or so. 1, 2, 3, 4. You get the top five, and they have a graph there to show you the top ones that are,
And what percentage?
and the percentages that you are closely linked to. So it flows the same way. It didn't take us very long to complete it.
25 questions.
25 questions, less than 10 minutes. So it was very, very helpful. If you are in your own relationship and you're trying to figure out, why do I keep getting upset about this one thing, and you can't sort it out, and you want to know, like, how do I improve my relationship, whether it be a couple or you're just interacting with people at your job or whatever the thing is, the apology languages are pretty helpful.
Few things to that.
Yeah.
One, you don't have to be in a relationship to know what your apology language is.
Yes.
But when you're doing this apology language, is it something where you're learning how you like to be apologized to or how you primarily apologize to others?
Are you asking me?
Yeah.
You took the quiz.
I know, but you're the relationship expert.
So you're asking me, is this quiz for the people out there who want to know,
Yeah.
is this quiz taken from the perspective of the person who likes to be apologized to or the person who's doing the apologizing?
The people want to know.
Okay. So this quiz is primarily taken to understand how you want apologizing to happen for you. Like how you receive apologies.
Before taking the quiz, did you know what your way of apology was?
I had a good sense of what it is because I knew when it was being done wrong.
Interesting.
But I didn't know that I'm
the
like
right way to do
exact or that I was like, this is the one way I like it to be done.
Okay.
But I pretty much, I'm pretty self-aware. I know myself really well, and I think I recognize like, oh, it's not sitting well with me. I don't feel validated in this response.
You're dropping some hints.
You know, this thing over here makes me feel a little bit more validated. But I didn't know that it was.
Okay, wait a second.
Okay.
We're not saying the call-ins yet. We're
All
going
right.
to get to that in a minute.
All right.
Now, I'm asking you all these questions because my strength, okay? Documentary interviews, all that stuff. So I have a lot of questions. And since I'm here with a relationship expert, I don't know the next time I'll be here with one. Next time I might be with my wife. So I'm with the relational expert.
Okay.
Why is it important to know your apology language?
I'm not prepped for.
Doesn't matter. Off the top of the head. Let's see how good you are.
Why is it important to say it again?
Why is it important to know your apology language? Why does that matter?
I mean, so you get better in relationships. Like, I think that that's helpful for you to know your apology language.
Yeah,
I don't think
sense.
that. Are you being funny?
No, I'm being serious. Like so part of the underlying question that I'm asking is why apologies?
You had an underlying question?
A little bit.
Okay.
Why apologies? Why not? What's your comedy language? What's your why apologizing?
Well, I think, apologizing is important because we're two different people from two different places,
right.
Two different upbringings. And how can two walk together, the Bible says, unless they are in agreement?
One of your favorite verses?
It is one of my favorite verses because it's so true. So it's like, if I don't know that I have offended you, I may keep interacting with you in that same way, thinking that I'm doing something well, but I'm offending you in what I'm saying, repeatedly in what I'm doing or saying, and therefore we cannot walk together because we don't even have agreement on whatever that thing is. So it's important, like, even an offense. I feel like this is one of the ways we say apologizing, but I think the scripture talks about offense.
Yeah.
And so apologizing is one way that we heal offense. Reconcile offense.
Yeah.
So I think that this is very, like, biblical for us to know how to apologize to each other. Or else I'm saying, I'm sorry if I did that one thing to you. And I'm like, if? You know you did it. Like, what are you saying if for?
Right.
And that feels, very invalidating. So I think that we need to learn how to apologize to other people. We need to learn how we expect apologies also, so that, we can feel empowered in these relationships to say, hey, I thank you for acknowledging this, but actually I didn't feel very connected when you said this. Is it possible for you to, whatever, interact in this way?
Side note, y'all, she does this professionally for a living. Okay.
Yes.
Forgot the mic is over here, even though the camera's up there. You probably heard all of that shake-a-dake. The camera is up there. She's over here. She does this professionally, okay? She eats, sleeps, and drinks this relationship stuff. She does conferences, okay? She does speaking engagements. She'll do college tours. She does all kinds of stuff talking to people about relationships and how to deal with them and how to handle them professionally. She's black. She's educated. She's good looking. She's pregnant. I did my job. And so what really matters in this is, do you want your relationship to improve? Today's sponsor, okay, for our channel is going to be Restoration Therapy Center. I don't know where you are in life. I don't know what you're needing in life, but I do want to let you know that if you're in a relationship and you're struggling. You have questions. You are talking to each other, but it doesn't seem to be connecting with the person you're trying to talk to on both sides. Let me point you in the direction of a place that can help you to improve your relationship and the relationship dynamic that you have. If you aren't where you want to be and you want to be somewhere better, reach out to Restoration Therapy Center. That came out all normal. Restoration Therapy Center. They'll be linked down in the description below. Thank you. Okay, so we're getting back to
3 minutes.
apology languages. Well, I think we only really need 3 minutes to resolve this. So let's get to it.
So moment that we've all been waiting for.
Yeah.
What was your apology language?
No.
No.
Ladies first.
Ladies first. Gotcha.
And then I'll tell you my honest thoughts on this test.
Okay, because you think it's a load of baloney.
I do.
Okay. So my apology language was expressing regret. Okay.
Makes sense.
It does make sense. And when I read it, I was like, interesting. I don't put my whole this test is the best test I've ever taken in my life, or it's the most accurate, because it could be missing points. I'm not saying it's all encompassing, but I do think that there's an element of expressing regret that absolutely speaks to who I am, where if someone says to me, I'm sorry, I'm like, that's what's up. Sorry for what? Sorry and what? I'm usually looking for the person to, first of all, acknowledge, because that's huge. I'm big on integrity and character, and you being able to even own up to the fact that there was something that was off in the interaction, but then for you to say, hey, I shouldn't have said that when we were talking to the other person the other day, and I said this thing, and I'm sure that made you feel awkward when I said this thing. That was never my intention. Next time when we go into this interaction, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to ask you blah, 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 blah.
So you want me or the person, but we'll talk about our relationship dynamic specifically.
Mm-hmm.
You want me to acknowledge the fact that what I did was wrong.
Absolutely.
Is that what you said your thing was?
Absolutely. Express regret.
Express regret, and that I regret it.
Mm-hmm.
What if I'm sorry, but I don't regret it?
It's an episode for another time.
Okay. I'll tell you what mine is, and I'll also share why I think this is a little below.
I think you bring up a good point. Because I watch a lot of couples in sessions say but I wasn't sorry, or I said I was sorry, and then you often find the other person saying, but you don't get it.
Right.
And so we need to get it.
We do.
On both directions. We need to get it, and we need to understand, especially if we're saying that we love or value this other person.
But I also wonder too, in instances where I don't want to apologize because I would rather you understand what I was trying to do.
That's hilarious.
More than I want to be sorry for your feelings. We do it with our kids.
Mm-hmm.
Dang, you hurt me when you were moving the bag from here to here. And it's but I told you to sit over there and you weren't sitting down. So now you got hurt because you weren't sitting down.
Mm-hmm.
So now is that for me to apologize to the kid and be like, you know what, you're right. I shouldn't have. I don't.
Jot this one down. We're going to come back and talk about this, because this is a really great topic. So it's is it better to understand or to be understood?
Yes.
Okay, go.
Mine is make restitution.
Interesting.
Interesting indeed. This is why I thought this test was a load of baloney. Because I felt like it was two questions back and forth asked different ways. I feel like he does that a lot with his test. That is sometimes my gripe with it.
Measure the validity of the thing.
Sure, and then also too, you want to make sure that the answers are going to align consistently with a certain thing. I also understand that in tests, whenever you have them and you're trying to there's a questionnaire that you're pulling from that was previously created that aligns with certain outcomes. So my struggle with this test, the make restitution, it's only 28%. So many of them were so close that honestly, I'll take any apology. Is what I interpreted it as. That's why it's a little baloney.
You're silly. You're so silly.
And so, but yeah,
plan change was my next one, which goes along with the expressing.
Accept responsibility was later. Plan change was equal with plan change.
Have you ever thought about somebody who apologized wrong? Not apologized wrong, but where they apologized, but you were like, that's not.
A person who repeats the offense.
Okay.
Is typically. So the other thing too is the apology the reason why I don't have a stickler for the type of apology that I get is I think it depends on the person, and then I also think it depends on what the person is able to do. So if you are someone capable of change, then I expect change. If you are someone who's only capable to be like, dang, I'm sorry. I already know your struggle is time. So if you apologize to me for being late, I'm not going to then be like, but you was late again. Like, I know that. So now it's like, I'm not going to hold you to that standard because that's not something you can, it's going to be a challenge for you to improve in that particular
So you're
thing.
saying you also apply grace in
The acceptance of the apology. Yeah. So that's why, but that could be why this test was baloney for me because I'm like, where's the element of grace and how could I be so annoyed that the person doesn't apologize right? That they, and I'm not saying that my way is right. This is just how, like, through my lens, is that I'm seeing it as like we all have different strengths. So, and I guess I'm looking at it from my own personal perspective. So I would like for someone to approach me with their apology in this way, where it's like, okay, we understand, we have grace for that.
So what did the restitution say there? What did it said that you
the restitution says I only like apologies when money's attached. So it says making restitution, and that's where I cut it off. No, I'm kidding. Making restitution, not prostitution, is me looking. In our society, many people believe that wrong acts demand justice. The one who commits the crime should pay for their wrongdoings. A maid who speaks this love language feels the same way towards apologies. They believe that in order to be sincere, the person who is apologizing should justify their actions. Okay, so this is, again, that's why I don't necessarily agree with this.
You got tripped up with the questions.
Don't make me feel stupid on public. This is now going across the nations. But
I'm not saying you should feel that. I'm just saying, like, if it's not resonating with you,
that could be why.
The test could be incorrect, like you're saying, but also you could have gotten tripped up on them asking the questions over and over again.
So
because you're thinking a lot about it.
So in closing, I'll say this: the reason why this test is bogus, doctor. No, I'm kidding. I just my struggle with it. I think the questions were because they felt repetitive. I also think you have to know yourself incredibly well to be able to take this, and then you have to reflect on like. I don't feel like I was necessarily lying, but I just felt like I was like, oh, that's a non-issue for me. That's not an issue for me. Okay, so let me try to guess. Which one do I prefer out of these two?
Right,
they're both equal, so I don't care. So now it's just So that was kind of how I was answering the test.
Interesting.
So I'm sorry to disappoint you.
Good to know.
But yeah, that is where we are.
Okay, so apologizing
is important.
Is it?
It is, but
I don't know.
No, that's not what I'm saying. Apologies are important. However, there needs to be an element of grace. And apologies are important to know how the person receives an apology. Because I do agree, you aren't going to accept my apology if I say I'm sorry. Because I'm watching my son do it to you and I see your annoyed face. And so I could tell, like, oh, you want to see change, you want an improvement, you want all these other elements. And so for me, I'm like, I get it. So it's important to understand and know those things.
Okay, well, that's all we have for you guys today. We hope that you enjoyed this episode. Link down below or comment down below. Are apologies important to you?
Do you apologize?
Do you apologize?
Pray about your apologies.
I don't know. We'll talk about the next time.